and established it upon the waters. And then this is the question. This is David the king asking this question. Who may ascend into the hill of the Lord, or who may stand in his holy place? Who's allowed to walk up the hill to the king's castle? But in this case, it's the Lord's castle. Okay? We call that a temple. We don't call the Lord's castle a castle. We call his castle a temple. Okay? So he doesn't correct that. He just says, who can walk up the hill? Who can walk up who can stand in the temple? Okay? He asks the question. Now, because I'm running out of time, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the image ahead of time. This is the image I want you thinking about. The hill that I believe is in view in God's mind, I know it's not in David's mind, but in God's mind, is the hill of Golgotha. And I think the question is, who's allowed to go up there? And who's allowed to stay up there? And I believe that the Lord Jesus Christ, when he was crucified, was the renting of the temple veil. I believe he is the temple. I believe he tabernacled among us. And I know David's not thinking that. But I'm asking you to think about that image going up the hill of Golgotha to the holiest place that has ever existed. If there is such a thing as a place that's holy, it was a hole in the ground on top of a hill in which a cross was put. And at that place, the world judged the man on it. And God judged the man on it. And the question is, who's allowed to be there? Okay? Now, I know what David's doing, so let me get back to that. David's asking the question, who's allowed to come up to the hill of God? Who's allowed to go into his temple? And then he answers it. He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul to an idol, nor sworn deceitfully, he shall receive blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. You have to have clean hands. This has nothing to do with washing your hands. Okay? Your hands are what you do for work. So all of your works have to be clean. Who is allowed to come up on the hill of God? Who's allowed to be in his temple? Every single thing you've done in your life better have been clean. No dirty spot on it. No blemish. No just, this was really good. It's just a little thing on the backside. No. Everything you've ever done has to be perfect. That's your hands. Then it gets even worse. You have to have a pure heart, clean heart, because just so you know, Jesus taught this in Matthew 5. You won't see God if you don't have a pure heart. You won't see him. You're not allowed up on the mountain. You're not allowed in the temple if you don't have a pure heart. Okay. So pure heart, what's that? Okay, now it's not even just that all my works have to be clean, but I have to have had the perfect motives while I did those pure works. Here I am at church. I think I'm trying to teach you, about the resurrection and center you on him. And I'm trying to get you to really love him more. But I'm also trying to get money. I'll tell you that. I hope you guys put enough on the plate. My works were clean. You all looked at it. You can't see my heart. You looked at it. You said, well, he taught the Bible. He was speaking about Jesus Christ. He even witnessed to the deity of Christ, the humanity of Christ. Seems right on. Yep, clean hands. But now we're going just a little step further. You have a pure heart? Nothing in that little heart of yours is wrong? And you have to never have committed idolatry. Now, Americans are too intelligent in their own mind. I'm not talking about you are. No offense to you, I just mean Americans. But we're too intelligent to say we do idolatry. We don't worship gods. We barely even worship Jesus as God. Let's be honest. We don't worship gods. We're too smart for that. But the truth is, you act like many things are your gods. And you spend many moments of your life serving your gods. Your obsessions, your needs that aren't genuine needs, your appetites, the things that you think, I cannot live life without this. And if it ain't Jesus, it's your God. It's a God. That's what gods do. Okay, it is just what gods do. I know we'll never call it a God. We're too smart for that. We're too scientific. We can barely even get around, can Christianity be true anymore? Because science has proven it isn't. We're struggling with that, let alone saying we worship other gods. But the truth of the matter is, if you honestly think you can't get life without through life without something, then you're relying on it like it's a god. And so the next thing here that the king points out is you have to never have served other gods. Ever. You have to never have gone after anything like, I've got to have this thing. Hey, you want to go out and do this? I can't do that today. I got to go do this thing because it's what I really got to do. Life doesn't make any sense without it. Oh, okay, well, we'd like you to come out with us. Well, I just can't right now. Got to go do this thing. Whatever that thing is, I don't care. I usually get a little further with that, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. You can't commit idolatry and be in this castle, this temple, on this hill. And then he notes that if all that's true, and you can't have sworn deceitfully. Let's not forget that one. You can't ever have said, I'll do that, and then not do it. So by the time you're done, who's allowed there? Who's allowed up on this hill? Who's allowed in this castle? Who's allowed in this temple? Who's allowed there? Well, there isn't anyone in this room, I can tell you that. It's him. It's Jesus. That's why he's the only one on the cross. No one else could bear what he's bearing up there on that cross. Nobody. And that's the image I want you to walk away with. That person will receive blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. For his godly fear he was heard, and he was raised out from death, according to the Hebrew writer. But then look at this, verse 6. This is Jacob. I'd be fine with that. I'd say, it's still Jesus. The generation of those who seek him, who seek your face, Selah. Wait a second. This is more than one person. There's a whole generation of people that are allowed here. Who are these people? Well, I submit to you that you and I are justified in spirit. We are justified in the resurrection of Jesus Christ and nothing else. It's how he was justified, and those who are found in him are also justified. It's not because you did any of these works. You didn't do any of them. I didn't do them. None of us have done them. None of us get to walk up to this mountain. None of us get to walk into this castle on our own accord. However, we've been found in Jesus Christ. And because he's allowed there, we're allowed there. Selah, you're supposed to think about that for a while. How'd you get there? Here we go. This is a king who knows this, and I'm done with this. Here's the king. Here he comes. What do you do with the king? But this king's coming, and he says, lift up your heads. I don't think this is a good idea. You might kill me. You know who I am? I'm not really worthy of this. But he's telling you, lift up your heads. You everlasting, you gates, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors. Now, this is definitely an image of pilgrims coming to Jerusalem on probably Passover. They're coming into the city. The gates are closed. There are gatekeepers up there. But it's not you and I coming in when we say to them, hey, open the gates to us, and they say, why? And And what would you say? Well, the pilgrims would say things. You find them in the Psalms. If you want to start looking at them, look at Psalm 121 through about 127 or 8. They're called Psalms of Ascent. And they were used in the worship service of going up to the temple at Passover. And you'll see some call and response stuff happening in the Psalms. And it would appear that the gatekeepers, the watchers, were saying, why should we let you in? Why should we open the gates? And then you'd answer the various things you'd answer that are there. But you might just suppose a few. I would throw out these ones. Things like, well, I brought a sacrifice. I've come to worship my Lord. Oh, you brought a sacrifice? Yes, I brought a sacrifice. I'm not saying I'm worthy of going in, but I got a bull with me. I got a goat. I got doves. Open the gates to me. That would make sense. But this time, there's somebody walking up to the gate saying, lift up your heads. What the heck did these watchers do? They didn't keep looking. They realized that the person coming is the king. You'll see that in a second too. But they're bowing their heads, and he's saying, you can look at me. Why? Because you're accepted. You're forgiven. The king has invited you. Lift up your heads, O you gates, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O you gates, lift up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Now, it's repeated twice. There's obviously emphasis happening there, right? Who is this person who's allowed to walk in on his own? It's the King of glory. He's the only person that meets all these requirements. But he's also taking in a generation with him. And not only that, he's telling people, lift up your heads. You're accepted. You're welcome. And so he was justified in spirit. We see how that happens at the resurrection, just this holy reality, this moment of just, it's amazing to me. He's so humble. That's what's so amazing to me. I don't even know how a person can be this humble. I really don't. You just defeated death, sin, Satan, all the powers of hell. You defeated the whole world. You defeated every problem there ever was. You fixed it all with one single act, and you come out and you say, yeah, let's just talk to about 11, 12 people. And let's tell them, why don't you guys go do it? Isn't that strange? Because that's also what God did with Adam and Eve. He literally gave the world into their hands, said, you can have dominion of it. Go subdue it. If I'm Adam, I'm saying, whoa, take that back. That's a little, you know who I am? You're God. Why don't you do it? And here's Jesus saying, I'm going to recreate the whole world. Why don't you guys go do it? It's amazing, his humility. Just can't even fathom it. But he's allowed in because he's the King of glory who met all the requirements David noted you have to have. And then in addition to that, he's taking us in with us. And so he was justified in spirit by means of the resurrection. But you're justified in spirit because you're in him. And you get to go in. And what a ministry we have. I wish we could change our voice and our message to the people right outside this world, and this is where I'll let them enter in, and I'm done. What kind of message do we really have? We don't have a message that says stop drinking, stop doing drugs, stop getting abortions, vote for the right political person. That's not our message. Our message is, we know a resurrected guy. He's God. And you can have forgiveness of sins. What if we just told people that? If that really was our message, like, you can have acceptance with him. You can really be forgiven. Doesn't matter what you've done already. Doesn't matter what you do in the future. You can be forgiven. Because he died and rose from the dead. That is justified in spirit for really then everybody. First him, then us. All right, thank you for your patience. We don't have Sunday school, so you get to leave now. Grace to you and peace.